There we go. Now it should be recording to the cloud. Perfect. So we're recording this, so this will be in the DBC back office after the fact. But essentially, what we're going to be going over is, let me make sure this is working. Is we're going to be talking about vibe coding, and and I'm going to give you pretty much a framework that you can use in order to make your vibe coding get on a professional level. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Arthur Bernier Jr. You can find me on like every social media platform as Big Papa Code. So you can go on Instagram, YouTube, all the things, and I'm on there as Big Papa Code. Um, I speak at a lot of events. If you're into tech, you might have seen me at a lot of them. Like I said, I just spoke at Afrotech. I did a 4-day certification at Afrotech, which is like the big, gigantic black tech conference. Like if you know InvestFest and people know that, it's like that, but for tech. In Houston, like something like 10, 15, 20,000 people, something like that, come out to the event. And on one of the stages, we did a multi-day prompt engineering certification. Me and a couple of my business partners did that. And then after we did that, we did another 2-day event where we did a hackathon when we took about 30 HBCU students and basically gave them the tools they needed in order to build an idea that they had from scratch using vibe coding. And then the winner of that got like a $10,000 prize, and then there was like other prizes along the way as well for the first, second, third, and fourth place teams. So that's where I just came back from, and then I also just spoke at the Africans in Tech conference on AI and futurism and all that stuff. So that's who I am. Some of you, if you've been in DBC for a while, you've seen like my modules, and you probably maybe have been in one of my workshops. If you don't already know, if you come into one of my workshops, it is for you to talk and do the more complex stuff, if you want to say it that way. So like if you don't know like what stuff you should join, and you see my face, just know it probably won't be something like one of the entry level things like building an AI twin and stuff like that. I'm gonna have some assumption and you know some of that stuff already. And when you come and you see me, it's more for I want to build an app. I want to create an automation from scratch. I want to start an agency. I want to do this. I want to do that. That's what Brooklyn has me in here to do. So uh, that's the job that I've been given by the boss, and that's what I attempt to make happen. So the thing I wanted to actually show you all is I was doing a automation class, which people tend to love, but a lot of times people would ask me a lot of times, oh, I want to build an app, I want to build an app, I want to build an app. So I said, you know what, fine, let me go ahead and do a introductory class on that so that there's something for even the people that miss it that they can go back to, they can see, and that they can go ahead and build an application. And so I'm going to show you basically how to do that and what that looks like. So hopefully that's exciting to you. And if it is, definitely let me know. And if you're like, oh, I might have stumbled onto the wrong thing, don't leave, stick around. You might feel differently, but that is essentially our goal. So let's look at this real quick. Um, let me see if I want to actually do the whole death by PowerPoint kind of thing. Probably not. So let me just do this. I'm going to go to a tool, and I'm going to get started with the process. I'm going to jump right into it. And hopefully y'all are able, I think y'all will be able to follow along. Let me go ahead and open up this here. And I'm just going to walk you through a simple workflow that you can do in order to build applications from scratch. And it's actually going to be a lot easier than you might think it's going to be. Um, it might be a little anticlimactic when you're like, oh man, I can really do anything, and all I have to do is do these two or three things. Which hopefully that's exactly what you want. You want it to be simple and easy, and that's what we're getting at. So this tool right here that I'm gonna start with is called PRDKit.ai. I will do some exposition, but I want to get right to the meat of it so that I don't spend 40 minutes telling you why this is such a great idea that you're here today. I think you already know that, so I'm gonna get right into it. So PRDKit.ai, right, is a tool that is free. I just put the link inside of the chat, so you can go into the chat and grab it. And I would like, once you actually are on the homepage, if you could just drop any emoji in the chat and just let me know that you're following along. And okay, cool, I've got PRD Kit open. Because I want to walk you through the whole process and I want the whole thing to get built for you. So I just want you to do that real quick. I think has, was somebody asking a question, or that just a hot mic? I think that's a hot mic. Let me mute the audio. Cool. I see two people on PRD Kit AI. There's only two people following along, or is everybody else locked in? Oh, I see three people on PRDKit.ai. And you don't need to be on your computer. You can do this on your phone. So no matter how you're doing this, you can jump and do this. But I want you to go to PRDKit.ai. Cool, cool. I never heard of it. A lot of people haven't heard of PRDKit AI, you know, but I'm a software engineer, so I know all the deep cuts. So these are ones that aren't going to be on Instagram and YouTube too much. Some of the ones that I'll go over in my classes, but it's very, very, very helpful. And I'm gonna walk through what you're supposed to do with it. So I see 4 or 5 people. Cool. All right. So y'all are my Avengers team for the presentation. I'm gonna assume that y'all that gave me the emojis are following along with me, and I will look to y'all to see if I'm going too fast or too slow. So PRDK AI, essentially what it is PRD stands for Product Requirements Document, right? And it says right here, product managers, this one's for you, right? Like that's the premise behind it is in the software development lifecycle, which I'm not going to get into right now. There's a whole process that you go through in order to build software, and product requirements are necessary because that's where you actually outline everything that needs to be inside of a product in order for it to meet the requirements that the actual product owner you know, or stakeholder or whoever wants in the product for it to be considered done, right? So that's the important thing there. So the product requirements document is going to have all that list of everything and a very detailed list, an exhaustive detail of everything that needs to be done for this product to be official, right? And it's kind of tedious to put together. This is one of the things that, like, me as a fractional CTO, that sometimes I put together for small businesses and stuff like that, that I have been doing for years before there was any AI tools to help me with it, right? And I charge people a decent amount of money. It takes me a decent amount of time to sift through everything that they want in their product and to basically outline everything that needs to be done in order to make that happen. So it's basically just like a checklist that says, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to have all of these features. Every single one of these features makes an application. And if you kind of thought about it this way, like if you were doing a PRD for like a person, right, to like make a human being, right, you would say like the first feature I need is the person needs to have a head, and then the person needs to have hair, right, and the person needs a neck, right, and the person needs a torso. They need a left arm and a right arm. They need a left leg and a right leg. You get the idea. And I would go into exalt. They need a foot. They need a hand, a left hand, a right hand. They need eyes. They need two eyes. They need two ears.
Hi, how are you?
Uh
Well, thank you.
oh. But you need two ears, you need a mouth, you need a nose, right? You need all of those, you need all of these things in order for the product to exist. Like for example, this product we're looking at, it needs to have a pricing table, it needs to have sign in, needs to have links for getting started, a features list or whatever, all those different things in order for it to exist the way it does. If you think about another application like a DoorDash, everything that's needed to make that happen, you need to be able to log in, you need restaurants, you need, restaurant lists, you need some back office stuff. Whatever all those things are that make up the application in exhaustive detail, and some things that we don't even see as the users, that only the people that have access to like the back end of the application um, have needs to be in here. And as you could see, that is going to be a really tedious task for a first-time product builder to come up with, and they're going to miss a lot of things. And that's the reason why you need like professionals to help you with it. But this tool tries to to essentially um, bridge that gap. And instead of you needing to hire a product manager to help you do that, even that still would be helpful, you can give it your raw ideas and it can generate a product requirements document that's not going to be perfect, but it's pretty darn close to perfect, pretty good. Me as a tech professional, and I've been a tech lead and a CTO and all stuff like that, so it gives you all that stuff, right? And it's not, and this part is the part that kind of makes the difference in the vibe coding, because you might already be like, this part sounds really boring. It's really fast. Like you can get this knocked out in like 5 seconds, right? But the magic here is if you can get a fully described in detail list of everything that you need inside your product, and you can deliver that to the vibe coding software, and then prompt on top of that, you can get a fully functional application just from your prompts. I hope you can see the vision there, right? And that's why this tool is so helpful. And this literally, I just started doing this with some people, and I might turn it into a whole thing, but honestly, I'm too lazy to turn it into a course. So if I teach it to you and you get good enough to do it, and then you go start teaching people and you make a whole course and a mentorship or something like that, I'm not gonna be mad at you. I'm not gonna be like, you stole that from me. I'm not gonna be on Instagram like, can you believe that Dominique was in my class and then she came out 2 months later with the whole entire course about everything that I taught? I'm literally, you're not gonna hear that from me at all. There's plenty of money to go around, and I already have plenty of other things to do. So I don't have the time to make a course out of this. I'm just telling you straight up how easy this is. And I actually have been doing this with some people that don't know how to code, and they've been able to take on freelance web development projects from people being able to use this process, right? That I'm going to start to show you today. And like I said, do with it whatever you want. Never use it again. Use it again. Do whatever. It's up to you. I'm just here to be a resource and to give you my knowledge as, a seasoned tech professional with 20 years in, to tell you what you can do and how good this technology is. And also to tell you that I don't think you're going to be able to do this for forever, because I don't see a way that PRDKit ever becomes profitable. And they're backed by Y Combinator and a lot of these other AI tools that you might be using too. You might be looking at them like, I don't know how this thing's ever going to make money, because they probably won't be able to make money. And also, like I said, I'm somebody who's raised venture capital before. So I've raised 7 figures in venture capital. I've had a startup, one of the few black-owned startups to have to raise 7 figures in VC. And if you don't know what VC is, I don't got time to explain that now, but we'll go on a whole tangent. I got a YouTube video. It's like an hour that explains the whole venture capital process. You can find it there. But at the end of the day, this company's backed by Y Combinator, which is a big incubator for a bunch of startups. And one thing I will tell you about VC, the way that it works is a bunch of rich people get together and they give one dude, let's just say one dude. Normally it's like a group of people, but we're just super simplifying it. But they give one dude all their money. Not all their money, but a bunch of money. And this dude's walking around with $100 million. And his job is to figure out what startups that come with ideas who he's going to give this money away to, essentially. Not give it away because there's safe there's this thing called the safe agreement people sign, and then there's rounds and blah blah. Like I said, I don't want to get into all that, but that's like the main premise. It's like, hey, you got a good idea, we have money, we're gonna give you this money, now go build the idea. And what they do is the thesis that they normally have is that the way how these rounds work, if you go like I remember we got our first evaluation when I was doing my startup for $100,000, and by the time we got to our second round, we had a $10 million valuation. So you can see 100,000 to $10 million, right? The way that these multiples work is a lot of companies fail from round to round to round and don't make it to being a publicly traded company or don't get bought out and all the stuff like that. That's why you see when they finally get sold, you're like, so and so sold for $285 million. So to get to the point here is what venture capitalists do is they give a bunch of money out, on following a thesis that they know AI is going to be successful. They don't know which company is going to be successful, but they're like, hey, we're going to give $50 million out, right? And we know if any one of these, let's say 100 companies that we scatter 50 million to become successful, the ones that do are going to make that profitable. So that 50 million on like 10 companies becoming successful is going to turn into like $100 million. So it doesn't matter that the 90 companies fail. They're like some of these businesses are going to make money. So I'm going to give. I mean, and there's more to it than that, but essentially they scatter their money around. They play bets against each other and backup bets and all the stuff like that. And so as a result, a lot of companies get funded, but most of them are not going to succeed. So a lot of these AI tools that you see that you're able to use like for so cheap and so fast, pretty soon, you know how the world works, capitalism works, it ain't going to be that cheap, eventually. And a lot of them are just going to be letting you use them for free, like they are now, because they can let you use it for free because some rich people already gave them $10 million, and they just want you to use it so they can so you can break it as fast as possible, and then tell them things that they can do to improve it so they can make the product better and better and better. And they're living off the runway that they got from those investors. So that's why you can use all these random AI tools for $0. So you should go and flip that money, that lack of needing to put a lot of investment in AI now, because that's just how the cycle works. So pretty soon after these companies that were given 2 and 3 years of runway, when they got a lot of their investments, mostly in 2023 and 2024, come 2026, 27, 28, a whole bunch of them are going to fail, not make it to the next round. And a bunch of them are going to fail, not make it to the round after that. And pretty soon it's going to fizzle out to the most successful companies out of them, like the ones that have a clear way to be profitable and make money. Um, that was a lot that I said. Probably shouldn't have said all that, but hopefully that made sense. So when I say that there's a little sense of urgency to get good at this stuff and make as much money as possible now, and if you want to keep doing this, you need to make as much money as you can now, because eventually there will be um, you know, uh, a what's what I'm looking for? A barrier of entry when it comes to money. You even see with ChatGPT, to use the good features on ChatGPT, you got to be like me and pay the $200 a month for the advanced ChatGPT. That like regular free ChatGPT used to be crazy good, and now it's kind of trash. Like at the end of the day, you got to pay that $200 a month, and you see that's just how the world works. That's what they're gonna do, because they're gonna have to prove as they go further and further that they can be profitable. So just keep that in mind. But right now we're standing in the end of 2025 where everything is still free. So let's make use of it now and get paid so that you can pay for stuff in the future and be able to tell all the people in 2030 that didn't get into AI, like, yeah, I was one of them first people who got into AI back in 2024. That's why I'm really living like this. That's why I got this. That's why I got that. But yeah, but anyway, so keep that in mind. Or I saw a message, teach me how to be part of those VCs. Hit me up. I'll tell you all about it. If you are really interested in that, if you want to raise money, because venture capital is the best. Like you hear funding all the time, it is the venture capital is the best funding to get, and that's because it's not free money, but it's very, very low stakes money in the sense of one is no personal guarantee. So if you get venture capital money, that's why Facebook and all these other companies, that's why they all got founded off of that. And, and a lot of black people tend to not get access to that money. But obviously, like I said, I've raised seven figures in VC. So did Blavity, which is the company I worked for. That's how I got into the inner circle, if you want to put it that way. Because I was there, I got the game from them. And anybody that wants the game, I don't have a problem. I'm sharing with you as long as you have a good idea, which is basically what they're funding. They're funding your idea. They're not funding your credit score or anything like that. They're not even going to ask you for any of that. The only thing that happens is you pitch them on your actual business idea, and you have to prove that the business idea that you have is something that can scale, is what they're looking for. So, for example, something like Facebook makes sense to them because it's like, oh, well, this could be 1,000 people, but it also could be 1 billion people, and that's why they invested in it, right, et cetera. So it needs to be something that can scale. So it can't be like a daycare or something like that. It's got to, I mean, I guess it could be a tool that all daycares use because there's daycares everywhere and people have kids everywhere. So maybe some type of tool that daycares can leverage. But anything that where there's like a large total addressable market, they call it TAM, total addressable market. It's got a large total addressable market, and you can prove that you have an idea that solves a problem, and that you have the capability to be able to put together a team that can actually build the thing and actually get out into the market and get it tested by real users, then they'll invest. Um, as long as there's nothing else stopping them, if it fits into what they think is, a good bet. So it's really good for those reasons. And the other thing, like I said, there's no personal guarantee. And there's no monthly payments on venture capital money. So if you get given $5 million, you don't have to make a payment on it or anything. What you sign is you sign what's called a simple agreement for future equity, right? Which basically lets you essentially get a debt note that will convert to shares in the company when the company has up rounds and stuff like that in the future, or goes public, all that stuff, right? So it's a simple agreement for future equity, and you do it based off of valuation. So normally, and so let's say you need $200,000, and they evaluate that they're going to do it on a $1 million cap. That means that that if and when they convert to equity, they'll have 20% in the company. But if your company fails and goes completely to zero, you don't owe anybody any money. That was the bet they made on you, that it is what it is. So you don't owe anybody any money. Nobody's gonna knock on your door and be looking for you for money as long as you didn't commit any fraud. As long as you didn't commit fraud and you did everything you were supposed to do, then you won't owe anybody any money. So if you just go all in on it, you get to see what happens. That's the reason why you can see all these startup founders and stuff like that. You'll hear that, oh, they failed to the top, and they had like 5 failed companies or whatever. Because venture capital is not like the company fails, you owe anybody money. The company just ain't work. The thesis didn't work out, and it is what it is. So that's not a problem at all. You won't owe people money. You won't have to file bankruptcy. You won't have to do any of that stuff. But the other piece on that is, let's say, for example, if you raised $100,000 on $1 million valuation, and let's say you are only able to sell the company for $250,000, that $100,000 is still debt. It hasn't converted to equity because you didn't get it done. So you got to pay off your people $100,000, and so you only make 150 on the sale, not you know it's not like it's either their money or more because of the equity. So you owe them the $100,000, so you have to pay them off before you can recoup anything. They have that first position, when everything liquidates. And if you happen to sell it for less than $100,000, say like $60,000, you make zero. I mean, but they already gave you $100,000, so I mean, like, they should get their 60,000 back, and that's the end of it because the company sold for 60,000, they get all their money, and you get none. Um, and that could happen. So that's surprisingly still a short version of venture capital because I could be a lot more detailed and nuanced have more time. So hopefully that answers your question if you did want to get into that. But again, I don't see how this company is going to be profitable. Is my point. So run the play while you can, because you probably can do it for a year and a half, and hopefully something else comes in, or you work out your own workflow where you can do this without having to use this tool, because you built stuff with this enough times that you can do that. But at the end of the day, it's here now. So essentially, what you're going to do here is, hold on, let me stop my share real quick. What you're going to do is you're going to use that tool to make the product requirements document, make sure that the product requirements document is detailed enough, and then you're going to use that as the guide to basically treat the vibe coding platform as a developer that works for you. And because you have the full list of everything they need to do, as you probably know by using AI, the more detailed you are, the more likely you are to get back what you need. And if you're very detailed, like as exhaustive as this will let you be, um, it will actually be able to, do what you need it to do. So that's the goal. Let me see if able to get this. What is going on here? There we go. So let's let's look at this. So things I'm gonna go over real quick using that tool along with whatever vibe coding platform you want to use. I'm actually going to show you to use how to use Lovable because I think Lovable is the best vibe coding platform that's accessible. There's also REPL and Bolt and all these other ones that you can use too. But me personally, I think that Lovable is the best one. So that's the one I'm going to show you to use. But that doesn't mean you can't pick and do something else. So if you already have one, let's say if you happen to be advanced and you've already started using one, or using something like Cursor, which I use all the time, which is the most pretty much as advanced as you can get when it comes to vibe coding. But it's really hard for somebody to use if they're not a developer. So if you are that advanced and you already can use something like that, by all means use it. But I'm going to show you to use Lovable. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about prompt engineering, which if you can get this skill of prompt engineering down, and I'm going to tell you that the 20% that gets you 80% of what you need, because obviously I could do like a whole week on prompt engineering if I wanted to and get really, really nuanced. But I'm going to tell you like what you need in order to be dangerous enough, and it could get you most of the results that you need. So we'll go over that with a little framework that I put together that makes it really, really easy and really, really easy to remember to get everything that you need done. And I'm going to give you the advanced version of it. So RTTPLC. Then we're going to talk about data preparation, which is something that you can do to basically you need to find data sources for apps. If you're gonna create an app, you need to have a source where the data is coming from. Like for example, I'm working on this AI tool that's coming out soon, shameless plug, called Gap Gambler, which is a stock thing, where it uses sentiment analysis to basically say the world thinks that this is going to happen with this stock. So do with that information what you want. So it kind of does that. But in order for me to be able to do that correctly, I need to be able to get a valid data source to be able to give me the information from a New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, et cetera. Right. So I need something. I need to get the data from somewhere. And And when you get that data from all these different sources, you really can't control what the data looks like. So you do have to sometimes massage the data. Like you want to make some health application, and let's say it's supposed to work with like an Apple Watch or something like that. Well, you need to know what the data is supposed to look like when it comes from the Apple Watch, right? Like like how is it formatted? So this way that you can instruct the AI how to deal with the data. So you're going to have to look at raw data sometimes, depending on what you're trying to build. If you're trying to build like a real production application that needs to get access to data, like a trading bot, like a health application, like a like a weather, whatever things y'all are thinking of in your heads, a lot of them are going to require you to be able to get data from somewhere. And you can't count on the AI to give you relevant, real data. You have to give the AI the data if you're making something for production. Like you can go into ChatGPT and just ask it, like, find this stuff for me, and it probably will find good data and present it to you, maybe, but it might hallucinate. You need to actually give it the real raw data and then have things happen with that data so you know that it's working with a true set of real information. And that's the difference between making something production level and making like a, custom GPT or something like that, right? Where you're just relying upon hopefully the LLM will go out on the internet and find something. You need to supply it with the real data. And then we're gonna take those two things together and we're gonna build and deploy an application in Lovable, right? And then we can export it and do all that stuff. But that's essentially what we want to do, right? So before we can make anything, we got to get our prompting and data foundations good. So I'll start off with this right here, which is that RTT PLC framework. If you're a note-taking kind of person, this is the thing that you want to remember. This is the thing that even if you don't build any of your own applications, is the thing that if you leave with this understanding, that you're going to be, that if you already thought you were nice at AI, you're about to be killing the game. Because this is literally you talking to the AI in the language that it's going to really understand, and then it's going to give you the type of output that you really, really desire. So essentially, what this framework pretty much talks about. Ignore this part because I reuse slides sometimes. So I was doing a training with my friend Ashley, and she did part of it. So it says your previous trainer, but at the end of the day, the you see it says role, task, tone, purpose, output, and constraints. And your role essentially is you telling the AI, right? Is you telling the AI what its job is, right? So you want to tell the AI, this is what your job is, what you do for me. You are a data scientist, you're a UX designer specializing in mobile apps. You are a assistant to a psychologist. You are this, you are that. You clearly tell the AI what role that you are giving it to perform, right? That's the first thing, right? The second thing is the task. That's where you clearly outline the job that needs to be done. That's where you tell it exactly what you need it to do in order to give you what you want. Next thing is the tone. Like, how do you want it to speak to you? Do you want it to, what communication style do you want it to have? And so you tell it the tone. You tell it the purpose, which is something a lot of people leave out, but you explain why the thing that you're asking it to do matters, right? This is also where you can, if you want to be a little black hat, this is where you can actually tell it like, if you don't get this done for me, I'm gonna lose my house tomorrow or something. You can tell AI whatever you want, and the more convincing the purpose is, the more it's gonna do its thing, right? But also know why it's doing it so that it knows what things to completely ignore, and it has a better idea of how to get the task done, right? For example, this example says prepare data for AI model training. So it's like, oh, okay, you want me to normalize CSS data set. That can be a lot of things, but you specifically need it because you're going to do some model training or you're going to create onboarding flow to reduce user drop off. So it understands why it's doing the thing that it's doing. You don't want to just say do this and then just wait. You want to give it the purpose that the reason why you're asking it to do the job. And then this next part says define the format. right? So how do you want it to give you back the information? So you told it what you want, but now you're telling it how you want it. So do you want it in a paragraph? Do you want it in 5 paragraphs? You want a bullet list? You want JSON data? You want a code file? You want like what do you want? And this is where you tell it that. And the constraints, which is the most important thing, is the constraints, where you're basically telling it what it's not allowed to do. And the more detailed you are here, the better your stuff is. And I know a lot of people probably have seen people like make stuff on like Sora or Google VO3, and even though it looks good, it has some really weird like physics associated with it and stuff like that. And if you've seen like some of my stuff, you've probably seen like, oh, the physics look perfect. The sun's in the correct place. It's rising in the east and setting in the west and doing all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. How do you get yours to do that? That's because when I give it the prompts, I give it really, really, really detailed constraints. So I tell it what it's not allowed to do. And now me just telling you this is not good enough. So I'm gonna stop my share. So I hate when I just say stuff. I got to show you this in real life so you'd be like, oh, Arthur wasn't bullshitting. I probably shouldn't say bullshit. Whatever. We're all adults. I didn't say that though. Strike that from the record. BSing is what I meant to say. So let me show you an example really quick. Let me think of one really fast. I'm gonna show you. Let's show flow. Let's do that. Mhm. Okay, let's go here, and I'll just use this. This will solve the problem and just show you how highly I think of myself, which is a little bit hilarious. You know, can't take yourself too seriously, so But I'm something to show you. So here's an example of doing this in an actual app, and then we're going to apply that. You can apply this to anything where that requires prompting, which is basically every generative AI tool. Which is why we're going over this first, because this is how you're going to get PRDKit to really do what you want it to do, and then eventually get Lovable to do what you want it to do. So if you see here, when I write my prompts, I don't write them like a normal person. Let's put it that way, right? And I'll show you an example of this scene, right? And you can see that the scene using the same tools everybody else uses, but you see it looks have the right amount of fingers and stuff like that for the most part. There's some things you can't really get away with AI a little bit, but it looks like a person is doing a thing, right? Um, the way that I want it to be, right? And this is on low fidelity. If I go ahead, because this is even VO2, it's not even VO3. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the prompt looks like that I wrote. And it's very detailed, and I reuse it all the time. As you can see in every single one of these, that the person in the video looks the same each time. Like it's the same person over and over again, regardless. So in here, when I write the prompts, and this is what I would like you to advance to, is you see that up here at the top. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Right? The way that I write it is I use these little things here, these delimiters that are with carets around them that clearly tell the AI, the thing that I'm giving it, what it's supposed to give it. So this is supposed to give it context so it understands what the uh, context of this video that I'm giving it is. Now you can see that I have in detail, like, okay, how tall I am and stuff like that, and the way that I want it to look, right? Essentially, what the cinematic tone is, right? Lighting, all the stuff that's in there, and then what the title is, and the information about the scene and how it's supposed to flow, from second to second. And most importantly, the constraints is that the runtime is 8 seconds. The physics should be natural sunrise progression, light diffusion, because I have the sun in here. Light diffusion accurate through low E glass, reflection, parallax, consistent with camera position, human motion, lighting, blah, blah, blah. And I know you don't think I wrote all that myself. Of course, I used AI to help me write the AI prompt. I told it what I needed, and then I use it to help me to construct the prompt, and then I structure it the right way, and then give it the prompt in that format, and then it gives me better results every single time, right? And that's the general idea. So, which we're about to do the same thing right now when it comes to PRDKit, and then giving that from PRDKit over to Lovable, right? Because you could just go in Lovable right now and just start talking to it, right? But if you talk to PRDKit first, and you get the PRD down, then you go over Lovable, give it the PRD, and then keep holding Lovable accountable to the PRD, then you can force it to get what you need done, just like you would use, have a freelance developer make something for you. And that's what we want to get to. So that's the idea, right? Of what we're trying to do. Um, and I will let me see. I'll copy this. I can't think this is too long for the chat. I'll put this in DB. I'll put this prompt in DBC later, because it's not actually going to work anyway. If I try to put it in the Zoom chat, because it's too long of a message. So back to what I was talking about here. So we're gonna go over actually the PRDKit in a second. I'm just gonna show you a couple more things in my little slideshow. And the other thing here, after you get this down, so you get RTTPOC, role, task, tone, purpose, output, and constraints. You make sure you deliver it all of that information. Then you can apply that with these more advanced techniques, which is a brief overview, step-by-step reasoning. So essentially, you ask the model to explain how it reaches its answer to improve reliability. And so you add phrases like think through this step by step, explain your reasoning before providing the final answer. And this technique, which is called chain of thought prompting, it's going to make it so that you can catch errors better because you're having the AI have to explain to you how it got somewhere, so that you went from this to this. Oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that? It's going to help you debug it, so to speak, too, and tell it like, no, you're going the wrong direction. That is not what I meant for you to do. Rather than you just end up with output every single time. You don't know why it did something. So this is a small tweak that makes the process more logical, and just makes things easier for you. You also have few shot prompting, right? Which a lot of you probably already do by nature anyway. A lot of people that use AI a lot tend to have just started doing this just by nature without anybody telling them. But this is where you give one or two examples before the main prompt, so the model actually learns the pattern you want. So instead of just saying, do this, right? You giving an example of this is me doing it the right way. Now I need you to do this 80, 100, 200, 300, whatever you want it to do, but this is it done correctly. Here's an example of the data formatted the way that I want it. Here's an example of a thing written the way that I want it. Here's an example of a blog post that I like, and this is what I want it to look like. Here's an example of an Instagram caption that seems to be doing well. Here's an example of an Instagram ad that's super successful. Here's an example of a YouTube thumbnail that I enjoy. Whatever, right? Like giving it examples is going to help it better understand and evaluate what you actually want. And if you don't do this, it could be fine, but giving an example is always better, right? And then the next thing is using structured formats like XML or JSON, right? So XML is what you saw how I was writing a little while ago, where you saw that I had those little caret things that essentially you tell the AI because the AI has to look through whatever you gave it, and it's not a human, so it doesn't look through data the same way. And we have to remember that. So it has to read through everything that you have, and it's literally in its code looking for, okay, what role do they want me to do? What's the actual job? How does it want me to respond? Why am I doing this? What's the output format? What shouldn't I do? It's looking for these exact 6 things. That is literally written into its DNA to look for the answer to these questions, right? So one of the easiest ways to make it easy to figure out what's going on is for you to tell it, for example, like for example, you can literally tell it, hey, you know what I want? I'm trying to draw, and it's like not letting me. So you know what I want? I want. See, now it did all that. So one more time. There we go. So that you want it to, you want the task to be this, and you write task just like that, closing caret, and then put all the task information in between. And then when you're done, you write a slash in the word task like that. So it knows that everything inside of here is my task. And you don't have to pre-tell it what you're doing because it knows how to read XML, and it's going to be very happy with you that you gave it that, and you're going to make it process everything way easier. You're making its job way simpler, right? It doesn't. You don't have to use XML. There's other formats too. The XML is the easiest one to do if you don't know how to code, because if I tell you write JSON data, it's a lot of commas and and quote marks and a bunch of other stuff that you need to do in order for it to come out the way that you want it to come out, and be valid. So the only thing you have to do here is you just write paragraphs in between the headings and closing tag, the opening and closing tags that you write out. And this scribble is just everything that you want it to say. So that's why in the example that I showed you just a second ago, right, where we were just looking at that in flow, right? Where I started telling it this is the context that you need. I don't have to tell, I don't have to tell Google VO. I don't have to tell it that it's gonna make me movies because it already knows that's the only thing it does is make movies. I don't have to give it an output because it already knows I'm gonna give you back a movie. But it needs to know the context of like who the heck is this person in here, right? It needs to know, what some information to kind of think about what the name of the scene is and how the scene's supposed to flow and things that it should not do, right? So that it's constrained to follow this format, so it doesn't just make me a bunch of nonsense, right? So that is what I'm trying. That's what you're essentially trying to make occur, is make it as easy for the tool that you're speaking um, to give you back your information in the best way that it can. And if you were to give it a role and give it a task, and I mean, give it a role and give it output and all stuff like that, it would not give you an error as long as you gave it something valid. So you can still give it all that information if you want to. But the key is that you're telling it within these tags exactly what you want it to do so that it has so that it's clear. So if you were talking to ChatGPT, which is really what this is made for, to work with something like ChatGPT, Claude, any type of generative AI that uses text, that's general purpose, that you give it all this information because this is what it's looking for. If you put role inside of these tags and tell it you are a data scientist, put task in some carrots and tell it you do this, put tone inside of there, purpose in there, output in there, constraints in there, it will go ahead and know exactly what you're talking about and give you better outputs. Just doing that alone is going to make your prompts better at the end of the day. And also, you remembering to give all these things is going to make you better at prompt and make sure that you give the AI something that it can actually work with. So clear this, and that's the general idea there. Any questions on that before we actually apply this? Any questions on that? Feel free to say it out loud or to put it in the chat if you have a question. And do you feed the framework to the AI? You don't have to. Like you don't have to tell. Like let's say you're doing this in ChatGPT. You don't have to tell ChatGPT about the RTT POC framework because at the end of the day, it already knows what these things are. Like I didn't like the point is we didn't like come up with them. There, it's already embedded into the documentation in the way that it was written that it's looking for this stuff. So you just supply it to it and it will. It's like if you have like a cheat code to using ChatGPT better. You give it this information, it's going to be like, oh, thank you for giving me this. It's going to be so easy to give you what you want, and it's going to give you what you ask for. Even when you do write it out this way, and you give it to it, you'll see it often is going to respond with, "Thank you for that detailed, amazing prompt that you just gave me." Like it will literally say stuff like that back to you. Um, you know, because at the end of the day, you gave it all the details, and it isn't questioning what it's supposed to do. And if you use one of the more advanced tools in ChatGPT, where you can see its chain of thought, if you see when you just give it some terms and you tell it to figure something out, it says really rude stuff about you behind the scenes in like its chain of thought. If you ever read it in like deep research or something like that, and you read what it's saying, it will say some crazy things about you. Like I have no idea what they're talking about, blah 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 blah, all that stuff like that. But if you give it something like this, it will say stuff like, "I know exactly what they're asking me to do," and that's the way that it will speak. So uh, you make it easier for it to get the job done. So keep all that in mind. Should you use ChatGPT to create prompts? Yeah, and that's a that's a thing that I think maybe we'll do a class on that, and it'll have to be more detailed than we're doing right now. But there's a concept called meta prompting, right, where you use AI to help you write better prompts for other AIs, which we're not fully doing right now, but we're kind of doing. But yes, you should do that. You should 100% go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, ChatGPT, I'm about to go talk to Google VO, and it be tripping. So I'm gonna need your help, right? And I need you to help me come up with prompts that do A, B, C, and D, and just give it to it in this format of what you want it to do, and then it will help you create the prompts to give to the other AI for it to behave the way you want it to behave." And that's a very good idea. And ensemble prompting works well with that too. Is where ensemble prompting is where you have multiple LLM tools that you're using at the same time. And instead of just talking to ChatGPT, you'll talk to ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini all at the same time, and you will have them trying to one up each other and give you better results, and you can see which one is the best. And whenever you make a tool, this is a good idea to use because you can use the advantages of all the different models. Um, but but yeah, meta prompting is a very good idea. So once you can battle with ChatGPT to get your prompts the way you want it, and then bring it over to the other tool, and then have the other tool tell you what it should be. All right. So if there's no other questions, let's go to PRDKit now. So hopefully you still have PRDKit open. I realize I didn't. Some of y'all probably did it, but I didn't tell you to actually sign up. You need to sign up. So if you haven't already signed up, once you went to the page, go ahead and do that now. It's a really fast sign up process. All you need, you could just use Google. As long as you're comfortable doing that, you could just continue with Google. It won't steal any of your data or anything like that. That's not how Google sign in works. I think most people know that. But if you never use Google sign in, you might be afraid of that. But only thing that happens is it just uses the API endpoint that Google sets up, and it doesn't need to you know create a password for you essentially because you already are authenticated that you own this email address, which is all they care about. And so you can use Google and Google verifies that yes, you own this email address. So they give you a token, and then you can use that to log into the application. It's a really cool process, and it stops you from having to make a bunch of passwords. Um, so that's up to you if you want to use that or not. Otherwise, you can just put in your email address and sign up, and then go to your email and verify your email address. But go ahead and sign up with PRDKit. I'm going to go ahead and sign in, and I don't remember which one I used. I think I've used all of them. Which one is empty? I think this one's empty, right? Oh, I may not have used that one yet. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this actually is fresh. That works too. So it looks just like how yours is. So after you set it up, this is what you're going to see. You are going to see this once you once you actually log in, and you're going to click the new PRD button. And it's going to create the chat, and your chat's going to look like this. Don't try to write directly onto the PRD website because last time I checked, PRDKit has a crazy bug where if you type out all your information and submit it without logging in, it like most of the time when you sign in, it like loses all your information. So you have to type everything over again a second time. Mad annoying. So make sure you actually sign up first. And if you already typed a bunch of stuff in there, copy it and first before you move on. But that's what you should be doing. You should log in, by creating an account, and then hit new PRD to go ahead and make a brand new PRD. And then you'll get here to the screen and say, what can I help you spec, right? Which is short for specifications. That's like an industry term. And you tell it exactly what you want it to help you create. We're going to use an example on here in a second. So go ahead and do that. And once you actually are in PRDKit, that you're actually in it, give me inside the chat, just say ready. And so I know that you're ready to continue. So once you've actually done those steps, let me know you're ready. And we're going to use this to create our PRD kit. I wasn't planning on doing this originally, but I'm actually going to go to ChatGPT too, so it could be more realistic. Because obviously, I'm not going to come up with random ideas from the top of my head. That's what I was going to do, but in the real world, I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna get a little bit of help from ChatGPT first. Cool. Looks like a lot of people are ready. Cool. So let's jump in. I'm gonna go to ChatGPT, and you can follow and do the same exact thing that I'm using, like build the same thing if you want to, or you can build your own thing. Doesn't really matter, right? I'm gonna go ahead and share here, and you can see I have my ChatGPT window in. All of us have seen ChatGPT, so I don't have to explain anything about ChatGPT. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell it roll. ChatGPT, this is your role. You are my product ideation assistant. You are an expert at taking raw ideas and developing a solid product idea that is um, that is ready for MVP creation. Right? That's good enough. That's the role. Right? That's its role. Now what's the task? I want you to create for me a pitch for an app that is made to increase, and I'm just literally coming up with stuff off the top of my head, increase the productivity of I don't know. We think of plumbers, of plumbers, um, and will be a Godfather offer for any plumber that sees it. Right? That's the task. I don't really care about the tone, so I'm going to skip it. I really don't care how it tells me. And then I'm going to say, all right, well let's do a tone. Let's say, um, give me your response in the voice of Beyonce Knowles Carter. Why not? So, not that that matters, but I really don't care what the tone is. Um, and so, and then the purpose, we'll say, you notice that whenever I write it, I write the opening and the closing first. Otherwise, you might forget it or it gets harder to write. And then I go inside of it and then I write whatever I want to write. It's a lot easier to not mess up. But um, for purposes, I am going to give your response to another AI tool called PRDKit that has the following features. And let's go to PRDKit real quick and look at the feature list. I think you might have to we have to log out to actually do that. Features. There we go. Yeah, good enough. I ain't gonna spend too much time on fixing that. All right. That's the purpose. Don't really need to worry about the output too much. I'll just skip the constraints. But for constraints, we'll say should be no longer than 2,000 characters and should be readable on a fifth grade level. All right, and I will put output. Why not? Let's put output. And I'll say output since I'm teaching right now. I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll say a paragraph or paragraph explaining the idea, and then bullet points using a SWOT analysis. And if you don't know what SWOT analysis is, it stands for, it's like when you come up with a business idea, you give it the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats, right, to the business idea, to basically weigh if it's like worth doing or not. Like if the strengths outweigh the weaknesses and the opportunities outweigh the threats, or if there's a simple way to mitigate the weaknesses and threats, etc. And so you use that in order to ideate about, when you're coming up with a product, because it could be a real cool product, but there might be too many things in the market, or too many obstacles in the way to make it um, feasible for you to start working on, because you can't overcome those obstacles. Like, it'd be really cool to make something to make a theme park to compete with Disney World. That'd be cool. But even though it's a great idea, uh, those are some big threats, and a lot of weaknesses in there, a lot of obstacles you're going to come across trying to randomly just make a Disney World competitor. Sort of thing. That's like an extreme example, but you know, that's what I'll do. And then I'll share everything I just typed in two ways. I actually share this chat with you all, but I'll also just share my prompt. And that should fit because it shouldn't be too long. Nope, that message is still too long. All right, I'm just gonna have to share this in a second then. Gave me the this is message is too long message. I was like, why did it say woman? I forgot. I told it to talk like Beyonce. Sorry. That's probably only funny to me. Let me copy this link, and you should be able to. Let's see. Cool. All right. This looks good to me, right? And of course, I can keep prompting to make it better, right? But plumbers work hard, but they lose hours every week to chaos, missed parts, messy job notes, slow invoicing, schedule that feels like a guessing game. The app brings order flow and profit back into their hands. It works like a smart digital foreman that never sleeps, tracks every job, sends reminders, auto creates invoices, finds the right parts, and keeps customers calm and informed. It even uses AI to estimate jobs, upsell services, and show plumbers exactly how much money they're making each day. It's simple, it's powerful. It turns every plumber into a boss of their time, their tools, and their business. A plumber using this app won't just work better, they'll feel unstoppable. I can imagine Beyonce saying this while giving a speech. So I believe it. So, and then the SWOT analysis, all in one hub, blah, blah, blah for strength. You get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and take this, right? I could, like I said, continue to prompt more and tell it to give me more detailed feedback and continue to work with it, give it extra prompts. But for time's sake, I'm going to use this because this is pretty good. And this is good enough for me to give PRD. It says if you want, I can also shape this into the exact PRD structure PRDKit loves. I'm not going to do that because this is good enough as it is. So I'm just going to copy it. First, let me share it. I don't think I shared the link. Yeah, I did. There it goes. I just shared it in the chat, so you can go ahead and look at this conversation in your own ChatGPT account. I'm going to go to PRDKit. I have to sign back in. And I'll go to this untitled PRD I started with, hit paste, get rid of that part. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to leave all this stuff about grace and power and the precision of a woman who knows how to run an empire. Right? I'm going to leave that in there. And I'm going to go ahead and send it. And now PRD Kit's like, thank you for giving me all that detail. Thank you for a detailed pitch and SWOT analysis. This is a strong foundation for a product that could truly transform the day-to-day of plumbers and field service pros. To move forward, I'd like to clarify a few points so we can prioritize features and design the right user flows. Core user needed is the primary pain point you want to solve first. Job tracking and scheduling, invoicing and payments, part supplies management, customer communication, or the AI powered estimating upsell. Who's the target user? Is the primary mobile on the go? Blah blah blah. Now, if you think that I'm not lazy enough to actually just go and ask ChatGPT to answer this stuff for me, you'd be wrong because that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back over to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, I inputted your suggestion into PRDKit. It asked me the following info. Please craft a detailed response based on your idea. Context. And send. Here you go, Arthur. Here is blah, 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 blah. Response for PRDKit. The core pane is this. And there we go. That's all I need there. And we're going to go ahead and give it that information. Boom and send. Multi-step overlay with next under a single welcome screen, inline hints, or add job. Or once you confirm, I'll create the wireframes for each screen flow. Go ahead and make the wireframes for each screen. And each screen, meaning, each thing that people should see when they come onto the app. Like you could think of us, like for example, when you first go onto an app, you probably see the login screen, and after you sign in, you probably see some type of not onboarding, but some type of dashboard, now that you're logged in. If you log in, let's say you log into the Instagram app, once you're in, you get taken to your feed, right? And that's a screen that you see. Like that's what when we're talking about apps, that's what we're talking about. That's when we say screen, right? Boom. Cool. And here are the different screens that it came up with already on like how it should essentially function. Cool. Now it couldn't do a whole lot of things. We don't need to do everything. So now that we have the wireframes, next thing for us to do is to go ahead and just give me the full PRD brief. And I'll go ahead and generate the PRD brief now, which now this information is enough information that you can now bring this to a developer or to a vibe coding platform and tell it to make the exact things that you're telling it to make to be able to make your MVP, saving you a bunch of time. So let's get this PRD made. So quick check in with everybody. So obviously I'm up to the part where I have the PRD and the wireframes, right? Can you give me either a yes or no? A yes if you are in line to catch up and get your PRD done as well, and give me a no if you're not and you're stuck somewhere and you missed a step in the process. So put a yes in the chat if you're good to go and you're getting all this done, and no if you missed something somewhere. I see one missed a step. Well, so I'll go back. I'll run through it again. See a no. I see two no's. So miss a step after question. So let's do it. Let's run through it again. All right, I see three people that missed a step. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do it from scratch right now. So the very first step that I did in ChatGPT is where I started from. I remember the first thing I did is I told ChatGPT what I needed help with, which was I need help coming up with a product idea, right? So I need help coming up with a product idea. And I told it that I was making a product for plumbers and to give me, the output in the tone of Beyonce. And so I did all of this. right? So that was the first step, was to ask ChatGPT, how do I, give me an idea, right? And I chose to be detailed. I used the RTT POC framework we just talked about, which I'm going to share, which I did share I'm going to share it again. I shared the conversation. I'm going to share the conversation now, real quick. Copy link, share the conversation. So go to this conversation so you can see the flow there. But that's the first thing I did. Once I got back the output, right? And the output that I got back was the pitch of what exactly of the application that ChatGPT came up with, right? And the SWOT analysis for the application, right? And then I copied this. So once I got the output from ChatGPT from my prompt, which my prompt says, "You're my product ideation assistant. I need a pitch for an app that's for plumbers. Tell me, tell it to, give it, speak to me in the voice of Beyonce. And the purpose is because I'm going to give this to PRDKit, which is an application that does all of this stuff." And I just copied this from the PRD homepage, right? So I just went to the PRDKit homepage and just copied the features that it has, so that it knows. So that, I mean, it already knows what PRDKit is, but just so there's no question that it doesn't know what I'm talking about, and it's not coming up with something out of thin air. Um, you know, I made sure I told it what that I'm giving this to PRDKit, and it's an AI tool that does the following, right? That's what I gave it for purpose. The output I told it was, give me a paragraph or paragraphs explaining the idea, and then a bullet point using a SWOT analysis. I actually had a little typo here, but it was good enough that it knew what I was saying. And then the constraints was, your output has to be less than 2,000 characters, and it should be readable on a fifth grade level. So this is me telling it exactly what I wanted to do. And so then it gave me exactly what I wanted. It gave me my pitch. It gave me my SWOT analysis as bullets, right? And then I copied this, right? So once I got that, I copied it and I went to PRDKit. I made a new PRD and I get this empty chat box. It looks just like ChatGPT, but this is PRDKit. So I'm on PRDKit now. And I'm going to use this exact message that I got from ChatGPT. And I'm going to paste that in here. And I'm going to get rid of this bottom part that, where ChatGPT sometimes says, like, "You want me to do this next?" I got rid of that. I kept the rest of it, right? And I'm going to get rid of where it says my name. And now I have the entire pitch here, right? With everything. And this is what I'm going to give to because the purpose of PRDKit is to give you the specs you need in order to actually build the application. So the thought process behind the people that made PRDKit is, this is what a product manager would do, right? They would hear what the stakeholder wants, and they would write a detailed list of every feature that needs to be in the application, so that they can meet with developers or development team, and development team can say how they're going to build each feature, right? We're using AI to simulate that process. So I got the information from ChatGPT on what I want to build. I put it here inside of PRDKit, so it's going to make for me the things I need. So this way, when I go to the vibe coding platform, instead of it just coming up with designs and stuff from the top of its head, it's going to build what I wanted to build in the way I wanted to build it. Because that's the number one issue some people have with vibe coding, is like, oh, if I make a thing, it's not, doesn't make it the way that I want it, because it doesn't know how I want it to look, and then I got to tell it this, and then it forgets this because the context window gets too big. There's a bunch of problems, right? But if you start off with giving it the foundation that this is exactly what you need to make, exactly this, it's going to make exactly what you asked it to make, which is always going to be better. So again, so all I did was I copied that from ChatGPT and put that here. And everybody got that far now? For the people that missed the step before? Well, I see a yes. Any more yeses? Yes, yes. Cool. So we gathered that from ChatGPT. We placed that in here. After we place this in here, then we go ahead and we submit this, and it's going to give us some information. It's going to ask us questions and blah, 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 blah. Right? And then once we answer this question for it, answer the questions that it has, then it's going to go ahead and create a PRD for us. Right? Um, so once it gives me a list of questions, though, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to answer them myself. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the questions that it gives me, whatever they are, right? And I'm going to go to ChatGPT and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to answer those questions. So what I did in ChatGPT is I told it I inputted your suggestion into PRDKit. It asked me the following info. Please craft a detailed response based on your idea. That's the way that I worded it. You could word it in your own words. And then I made a thing here that says context. Same way I did inside of Flow, right? Where I need to know, the in this context it needs to know the name of the character and the information about the character, right? That's what it needs to know there. The context that this needs to know is what the heck was the output that PRDKit gave me. So I just copied exactly what PRDKit said and just dropped it here inside the context so it knows that that's the context that it needs. There's no question about where my question ends and where PRDKit stuff begins. Because if I just paste it directly in, it might not. You're assuming it's going to be able to tell when you stop talking and when PRDKit started talking. So I separated it by putting the context here of everything that PRDKit said, so it knows this is me talking, and this is what PRDKit asked for. So everything is super clear. And then it gave me back this response, and then I dropped this information back inside of PRDKit, and then it gave me my PRD, right? Well, first it gave me the wireframes, then it gave me the PRD. So, like for example, right, it gave me the wireframes that I asked for. Let me go back. This is the one, right? So it gives me the entire um, the wireframes, right? And then it gives me and I asked for the PRD brief, and it gives me the PRD, right? And I'm going to share this in DBC after. But that's what you need to get from there is that that once you get the questions answered, you just tell it what you want from there. Give me the wireframes, give me the PRD. That's the two things that you wanted to give you, the wireframes and PRD, because that's what we're going to take and give to the vibe coding platform for it to be able to build what we wanted to build. And your PRD looks like this, right? Where it just has a very, very, very detailed instructions and applications about like how things are supposed to flow and what the way things are supposed to look in your application, right? So that this way that the vibe coding platform can build from here rather than you know, build just off of a few words that you're saying. And that's the goal. So once you have asked for the full PRD brief from PRDKit, it should build the PRDKit and you should get back a document that looks like this, right? If you have the PRDKit generated now, go ahead and let me know in the chat. You could just write PRD in the chat, and then I know that you have it. All you have to do from there is literally just get the questions answered, paste the answers in, and ask it to give you the full PRD brief after you give it the answers. That is your goal. And if you're stuck anywhere and need to share your screen, let me know. But if you now have that, just go ahead and type PRD into the chat. And if you don't, go ahead and just type in help. And if you have a question, feel free to write the question in. Cool, cool. No rush. Take your time. Cool. Just let me know. so I know how to proceed. You're not behind. You know, if you're at the chat GPT prompt, that's fine. As long as you know what to do, that you're going to write out the prompt, you're going to get back whatever pitch they come up with, and then you're going to take that pitch, give it to PRDKit. Whatever PRDKit gives you, you're going to get back to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to give you a response, answering all the questions that it asks. And then once you answer all those questions, you say, give me the full PRD brief, and then you're good to go. You don't have to go in any particular speed because we all type at different speeds. And, I'm making an app I don't care about, but you might be making an app you care about. So if I'm making an app I cared about, I'd probably take a whole lot longer to write what I was writing. I literally just came up with the plumbing idea from the top of my head because I was playing Super Mario Brothers before. So plumbing was in my head. I don't really want to make a plumbing application, but you're probably making something that you care about. So no need to feel like you're behind. You're not expected to go as fast as me. I've done this like a bunch of times, and you're learning it for the first time. So don't feel like you need to rush. Make sure you're understanding what you're doing as you're going, because it's no value to keep up with me and not know what you're doing. And so I'm leaving it up to y'all to tell me how fast I should be going, because I'm in literally no rush. I don't have to leave anytime soon. Y'all might have to leave at 8 p.m. though, if you only set aside the 2 hours, but I don't have to leave at 8 p.m. So I'm not in any particular rush. And this is the hardest part, the part that makes all the magic happen. So where are we at? Somebody tell me so I know if I need to go back, if I need to clarify anything. I need y'all to ask me. Tell me what you need, and I'll provide it. I'll answer literally any question you ask me. Hopefully, you know that by now. Um, for people that have been in my classes before, you can ask me whatever you want. I'll answer the question, and there's no such thing as a stupid question. And also, it's impossible to make me lose any type of patience. It's like my superpower. And I have like infinite patience. So there's literally nothing that you're gonna ask me or whatever, and I'm gonna be like, I can't believe you just asked me that. I'm not that type of person. I don't get down like that. You got a question about whatever, like you missed the name of the website. I'm not gonna be mad you missed the name of the website. I'm not gonna be mad at any question you have to ask. So you can ask it if you have it. It is 100% a safe space to ask any question. PRD complete. Love to hear it. Cool, cool. I think I see two people that have a completed PRD. For the people that don't have the PRD completed yet, do you know what to do and you're just still working on it? Or do you need something clarified? Feel free to come off of mute and ask me or put it inside the chat. Nope. Did everybody fall asleep? That's also possible. That'll suck to fall asleep before the good part. Cool. I see one more PRD done. Okay. Cool. Since I'm not getting too much feedback, I'm going to assume some people might just be spectating. Some people might be away from their keyboard. Uh, say it's given 4 suggestions for development. Cool. If it gives you multiple suggestions, you can do one of two things. You could give that over to ChatGPT and tell it to select something for you, or you can select it yourself and just say like, I want to do this. But you could ask ChatGPT to help you with that. You also, if it's giving you a suggestion to do something other than give you the PRD or wireframes, say, don't worry about all that. Give me the wireframes and PRD. Like just tell it to get to the point. because it has a tendency to sometimes, want to get into some deep ethereal conversations with you about random stuff. And sometimes that can be helpful. But in an example right now, we're just trying to get it done. That's a little bit too much. So you can have a conversation with it later. It's not as good of a conversation companion as ChatGPT anyway. So it's not like you're missing out on anything by not talking to it. Cool, cool. But yeah, but if it ever asks me to if I'm doing something rapidly, like if you're in rapid prototyping mode, like I won't sit there and make a bunch of decisions about stuff because I can change them all later based on what I like and don't like from the vibe coding platform anyway. Or if I see wireframes I don't like, I can just tell it to change it. You know what I mean? I'd rather just say get to the point as fast as possible. Because the reason why I'm using the tool is not to have a conversation with it, it's to generate the deliverables. And once I gave it enough context from ChatGPT, I shouldn't need to tell it anything more than that. Cool. So once you have it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it, right? And you can either copy it to Notion or copy it to a clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and copy it to a clipboard, right? And if you have Notion, I have Notion too, so I love to use Notion. So if you want to copy to Notion, um, you know, you could do that as well, and then paste it into Notion, so you could use it from there. But I'm just going to go ahead and copy to the clipboard because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to lovable.dev now, which Lovable is a tool, and you see they all use the same basic like chat GPT type interface for you to talk because this is all generative AI, right? And I'm going to log in here and I'm going to create an application. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to take the PRD that I made and paste it in here. And then also what I can do is I can download the wireframes. So this way that I can, you know, that I can use them. I can either take screenshots or whatever, right? So what I can do is for each screen, I can go ahead and take a picture, right? And then kind of go from there. So this way I have a picture for each one, and um, and then do that. Notion is another AI tool um, that lets you save notes and things of that nature. But it lets you save them in a better formatting structure than you normally would. So it's pretty useful. So I use it a lot. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to come to Lovable. I'm going to paste that in here. Right. So that is the core piece of it. And then I'm going to come back over and I'm going to get the wireframe images. Right. So let me get the user flow. I'll download that image and I'm going to go ahead and attach. I don't know what just happened. There we go. So I attach that. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to get each one of the screens. I'm going to download the first screen. I'll save that one. I'll download that screen. Save that one. I will download this screen. Save that one. I will download this screen and save that one. I will download this screen and save that. And that's all the screens. And I go over to Lovable and I'm going to attach those screens for the wireframes. So now I have all the wireframe screens here, right? And then I'm going to double check to make sure how much of this got pasted in. So the last words should be integration points, future invoicing, customer messaging modules. I'm gonna go back over here because I can't guarantee I copied everything. Make sure that everything was copied. And so it came all the way down to here. So yeah, everything was copied. So we're good to go there, right? And then once I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and send this to Lovable. I'm not logged in, but Lovable normally doesn't log you out when you submit. So I'm gonna assume I'm good to go, and I'm gonna go ahead and submit, and it's gonna ask me, "Hey, log in," and I'm gonna go ahead and I am going to what did I use to sign up? Did I use GitHub to sign up? I don't know. And I'll go ahead and submit. And now it's gonna try to build the application. And so now it's thinking about what I just told it, and thus starts the vibe coding. And this is on lovable.dev. And all you want to do is you want to make sure you give it all of your wireframes and your full PRD. And it's going to take some time to think. Then eventually it's going to say, like, okay, cool. Now, based on that, this is what I need to do. And so it says, I'll build a mobile first job scheduling app for solo plumbers with guided onboarding, job management, and a clean professional design inspiration drawing from successful field service apps. I will create a trustworthy practical interface, colors, blah, blah, blah. Because I didn't even give it that information. I don't care. Style, vibe, features to implement, all the features we outlined in the PRD. So it properly grabbed that information and design system. It came up with that on its own, and I'm okay with that. And then now it's telling me what edits it's making and what it's doing to go ahead and build the preview. So it's building it's literally writing the code right now, which is what we wanted it to do. Now it's going to take a while for it to finish because it's going to have to write a bunch of code. So I'm going to let that run and I'm going to open it up for any questions right now as it's doing its job. So any questions so far? Anybody stuck anywhere? This should take about 20 to 20-ish minutes for it to finish writing all the code. Let me see. Which text are we meant to copy from the PRD? So you should be copying all the text from the PRD. So if we go over to here, right? Once it gives us this PRD document, it gives us basically, it normally follows the same structure, but sometimes it changes up a little bit. But it basically gives us everything down to where it starts giving us images. All of the text that it has here, everything here is what you should be copying. And it should all copy when you copy it to the clipboard, right? So you should be able to grab all of it. So the first thing is copy all that to the clipboard because when you go to Lovable, you're gonna need to paste that in, right? Because this is what's gonna explain to Lovable what it's supposed to make and how it's supposed to make it. Then after that, then all of these diagrams basically explain how things are supposed to work. The user flow is going to explain to it what a user does when they use the application. You don't even really need to be able to read it because it's just going to be a visual example of the PRD, and it'll align with whatever you read that you gave it. But essentially, what it's saying is like, okay, after the user goes through an onboarding and they try to add their first job, this is like the feedback loop you're going to get. So you add a job, then you see the dashboard, right? And you're going to get feedback, and then you can close a job and see the dashboard, and then you can click on a job detail. So while you're on the dashboard, you can click a job, see a job detail, etc. I just know how to read this because I'm a developer, but you just need to copy it and then give it to Lovable. And if it creates a flow you don't like, let's just say it did have something wrong. Once you get to the vibe coding process, you start seeing the app as it's made. If it doesn't do something you like, you just tell it to change it. That's, you just do that literally via the prompts. I don't want this button to go to this page. I want it to go to this page. Or you know what? I just realized I need a seventh page because I need it also to be able to do this. You just tell the vibe coding platform that, but you're starting from a strong foundation. And you actually are working from a full application that you can continue to ideate upon. And if it really gets like you want to do something crazy that's a little bit too hard for the vibe coding platform, it is way cheaper. And I'm telling you this as a developer that charges people money. It's way cheaper if you come to me with an app that works and you say that I want you to add a feature for me. I'm going to charge you not even anywhere near the same amount of money that I would charge you if you said, build me this whole thing from scratch, because obviously it's a whole lot more work, right? So telling me to add a feature to an existing working application is far simpler and far less expensive for you. Even if you did need to bring in real developers, down the line, which is something that most apps that start off as a vibe coding app eventually have to do. But the bottleneck of going from zero to, having an app, you can solve by doing this. Let's see. See a question. Is my PRD in my PRD? I don't see an image of the workflow like yours had. Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. Um, that must mean that, because here's the thing: the reason why mine has it in there, because when I asked my Chat GPT to answer the questions, it said to add the workflow in there. So yours probably just said don't, which is okay. But you could always go back and ask it for one if you want to. But you don't necessarily need it. As long as you have the PRD and the wire, if you have no wireframes, you need to go back and say like, no, I need the wireframes, because those are two things you absolutely need. You absolutely need the wireframes. You absolutely need the PRD description. You need those two things without a doubt. And again, we're just testing this out now. So if you know that you like having that in there, once you get used to the application and you know that it can give you that diagram, just make sure you ask for it next time, and it'll make it for you. Let's see. Is there a possibility you can make a prompt for Lovable straight out of ChatGPT? You 100% can make a prompt for Lovable straight out of ChatGPT. What I will tell you is it won't be as good as if you do it in PRDKit. Um, so, do what you want there. Because what you do use ChatGPT to do is, as I keep talking to Lovable, I can use ChatGPT to give it good uh, continue to give it good prompts. And so I could talk. So me, ChatGPT, and Lovable work together to go ahead and actually make the app after I get the initial one built up. But I promise you, you're going to get better outputs from getting PRDKit to make it and then giving the stuff from PRDKit over to Lovable. And then you're done with PRDKit. You're only using PRDKit for that one task. And the one task is to make a PRD, which it is specifically engineered to do. And it will blow any PRD you'll make with ChatGPT out of the water. I promise you, every single time it's going to make a better PRD than ChatGPT will make for you. You don't want to use ChatGPT to make the PRD. Can you? Yes. Should you? Definitely not. Definitely not. They literally got given millions of dollars to be good at doing one thing, which is to make PRDs. They are uh, they are gonna do better than ChatGPT. Let's say I didn't have a user flow. What should I do about that? If you don't like, if you're missing anything that you want in the PRD, let's say if I wanted to add something, I literally would just say, I am, I appear to be missing a whatever feature that you want. Let's say forgot password capability. Can you add this and regenerate the PRD? Right? And just ask it and it'll do it. That's all you have to do, and it will go ahead and add whatever extra that you want to add there. And the other option, if you don't want to use up your PRDKit credits, you can copy the PRDKit from from PRD. You copy the PRD from PRDKit and bring it over to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to add anything you're missing, which is way easier for ChatGPT to add to this already existing flow than for you to ask it to make it like that from scratch. Cool. And here's my preview of my application. Is made. Add your first job, John Smith. Oh, that's telling you all my address. Don't show up in my house. Let's say Jenny Jones. Anybody old enough to remember that show? They used to be my show back in the day. 323-111-1111. Say 123 Main Street. Job description. Leaky faucet. The date. Ooh, we haven't put the date picker in there already. That's nice. At 10:55 a.m. Notes. This is cool. Set a reminder. Give me a reminder. Save the job. New job has been added. All right. There's no jobs today, but I should schedule for today, so I should could have seen it pop up there. Let me add a job for today. Say Jessica Jones, 555-123-4567. I'm just testing that it works. Boom. At 11:54 p.m. Our job. That reminder, save job, and there it goes in here. It looks like we can view it. We can edit it. And we can mark it as completed. Pretty good. And add job, edit job, job, close job. Looks pretty good. It's a good starting point, and we can go ahead and we can add additional features to it as we see fit. And then there goes the code there that we didn't have to write, that it already wrote. Cool. So, and like I said, we can continue to add more features here. So if we like what we have so far, it's already good. We can go ahead and we can publish it. But we can also go ahead and give additional prompts to tell it to continue to add additional features that we might come up with. Can't think of any right now, but any features that you also want to add, whatever they might be. Forgot password, turn Super Saiyan, whatever the heck you want to tell it to do. But that's the general flow that we go through. So to run through it one more time, the first thing we do is we go over to Chat GPT, right? We create a new chat and we give Chat GPT its role, its task, tone, purpose, right? The output and any constraints. And what we're trying to ask it to do is give us a idea for our um, project. And if you already have an idea, like you already know what you have, that's kind of what I based it on, the fact that you want to make an idea for, you're making an app for plumbers. Just make sure in the task you're really clear about um, what the task is. Like we're building an app for plumbers, we're building this type of app. Like be very detailed in your task, explaining everything about what it is that you want, so that it can give you some good output. And make sure in the purpose you make it clear that getting this out, you're getting this output this way that you can take it and bring it to PRDKit. That's all you're using ChatGPT to do is to help you with that process. So once you do that, then you're going to go to PRDKit, and all you do here is you're going to go ahead and make a new PRD, right? And inside the PRD, you're going to paste in exactly what you got from ChatGPT here, and then it's going to go ahead and be able to generate for you two things. You want to get your wireframes, and you want to get the PRD. Once you get those two things, and you take them, you bring them to Lovable, and then now Lovable can go ahead and make the basic MVP of the application that you want to build. And then Lovable then has the ability to continue to code on top of the foundation that you've already received for the application, and continue to make it better, make the styling better, change the color scheme, do whatever it is that you want to do. But then you have something to build on top of, or something to give to a developer to continue to build on top of, or whatever choice you're going to make from there. That is the general flow. I wish I had a thing where I could show. Actually, let me see. Is this the one where I have the other things on? Spaces, Pro. No. Hold on. Let's see. Let's say log in. Google. I think that might be the one where I have the other stuff on it. Yeah, it is. Mm. Here's an example of one that we actually made fully in PR, that we made fully in here, and you can see the prompting that was done here with one of my like one-on-one students. We kind of worked through building this, and we built a full working application. It's actually deployed now. And I'll just go to the preview that we have here, right? But at the end of the day, this is a quick application where it's like where essentially it's made so that people that have chemo that take chemotherapy can keep track of their health, like their health people. So I'm not doing good at explaining it, but at the end of the day, like it's essentially there to make sure that chemotherapy patients can take control over their holistic health, like when it comes to like the food they're eating and everything. Um, and it's a pretty good onboarding process. So like if you go ahead and you sign up, you can go ahead and sign up for the application. And let's see, I might already have a sign up. Do I have one that I remember? Let's see. Let's say ABC. Say abc123.com. This should be the demo, so I should be able to do that. And I am a patient, create an account. I didn't put at. There we go. And I understand all of the things, continue to set up. And you can go ahead and connect my chart, which I'm definitely not about to do. If you're in the medical field, you know what the metal my chart is. You know, it has access to do that. And then I can manually input information about myself, like what cycle of treatment I'm on, what type of dietary restrictions I might have, am I taking any supplements, and do all that stuff. So I'm not gonna go through the whole thing right now, but at the end of the day, you can do all of this from within the application, and there's a live version of it too, but I can't mess with that one because that one's like real, so I can't like just put dummy stuff in there. But but that was all made using the same outline that I gave you. They had a PRD, and if you see in the very first prompt, right, right, we have the information that we got from there, and then it gave the output, and then boom, and then we went from there. That's actually not the first prompt, actually. That was the second set of prompts. It looks like I can't scroll back far enough. It may not have memory that goes back that far. I don't know how far back the memory goes by default. There it goes. Okay, so this is the PRD. Like you see their email right here. His name is Quentin. See his email here? Don't email him. I just thought about that. Don't email him. But you see the images that we've got from PRDKit along with the actual PRD is listed here with all the information. And then features for MVP, it goes ahead and builds, gets the basic, and it didn't look like this to start off with. And then we kept going, right? And then built this out, and you can see that the prompts go over 2 days. You see that within 48 hours, you see the last one ends at 9:47 in the morning the following day. Within 2 business days, we had the whole entire thing made, and then they went from there. So that's the general flow of how this works. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. And if you need help with it, you know how to reach out to me. I think you all do. You can send me a text. You can send me a message in DBC. I'm not as fast with the DBC messages sometimes. So definitely shoot me a text is definitely the best way. If you don't already have my text number, if this is the first time you're in one of my classes or something, you don't have it, I'll give it to you now. It's 404-962-0908. And you can ask me any follow-up questions you have about it. And yeah, and then I can help you with this process to like refine it. But this is really essentially what you do. You get the information from PRDKit, get that information into the vibe coding platform. And once you get that information in the vibe coding platform and it builds you the basics, then you just tell it to tweak it exactly the ways that you want it to be tweaked. I want to add this logo. I would like for this to happen. I want the color scheme to change to this. I want the color scheme to change to that. And you just keep going and going and going and going and going, right? And you can go on as long as you want. If you want to go on infinitely, you probably will never need to pay for PRDKit. And even if you do, PRDKit is super cheap. It's not expensive anyway, but I'm not in the business of telling people to pay for stuff they don't got to pay for anyway. But you can get away with paying for PRDKit. Lovable is the one that you want to pay for. But PRDKit, you log out, see how much it is. As many people as I get to sign up for PRDKit, they need to start paying me though. But but at the end of the day, it's $15 per month for PRD kits. Not the most expensive thing in the world. So if you're doing this a lot, you will run out of credits, right? If you're trying to make like 20 PRDs a day or something, you're gonna run out of credits. But if you're literally just and this the monthly is 20. Yearly is $15. So 180 I guess per year. But if you're just doing it every once in a while, all you need is the free version with the 10 credits, and that's it. And you'll be totally fine because you're not there to have a long conversation with it. You're there just to get a couple things out of it and then move on. It just happens to be the best tool at giving you a PRD kit and exactly the way that you want. You won't have to tell it 5 or 6 times to give you a PRD kit. A PR, they won't. You have to tell it a bunch of times to give you a proper PRD. It'll give you a proper PRD from day one. So that's what makes this super helpful. And then Lovable is the one that I would say if that paying for it would be helpful because you could definitely run out of credits um, if you tell it to make a lot of changes. But if you pay for the paid version, which again I don't think is too expensive. Let me check and see how much it is. I paid for it, but like I said, I don't even remember how much it is. So it's not expensive, or otherwise I would remember. You know what I mean? Like if it was expensive, I'd be able to tell you exactly how much it is. Let's see. Let's see. So it's 50 a month, right? So if you're doing this a lot, then you can do the $50 a month plan, right? And that'll give you everything you need. You don't need the business plan unless you have a team, right? And like I said, if you're doing this all the time, right, you're doing it often, is definitely worth it. And if you're also building your app from scratch, right, one time, it's worth it to pay for the 1 month because you'll be done with it before the month is up. I can guarantee you that. It won't take you a month to build a vibe coding app before you're ready to do something else with it. So I recommend pay the $50. It's gonna be way cheaper than getting somebody to make it for you. And you get something solid, and then you can pass it to somebody else if that's what you need, because you're building some big enterprise app. Um, and that's that. The other thing that I want to go over before, oh, I'm over time. Let me just write this real quick. I'm gonna go to producthunt.com, right? And Product Hunt is a good application for you look at for a couple reasons. There's a couple things you can do here. I'm gonna show you two things because obviously the main thing is to be able to make some money, right? So now I showed you like the basics of the skill. Obviously, if I'm with you 8 hours, I can tell you in more detail, but I'm trying to get it done in two. So, um, but if you look on producthunt.com, what you're going to see on here, you're going to see a bunch of newly launching products, and you can come up with get ideas from looking at other people's products and stuff like that. And also gives you products that you can try, help you come up with ideas and things that you can think of. And also you can publish your projects on here for people to try it out, right? And so you can post a product and somebody can go ahead and look and say, hey, I think that's a good product. I want to try it or whatever. So people on here are hungry to learn and see new products. So this is where you can find a bunch of people to use your product very quickly, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is when it comes to making money, right? I don't know how good any of your marketing skills are. Let's say you have decent marketing skills, and so you can take a product and then create a list around the product and stuff like that, and a user list and all those type of things relatively quickly. You can go to a platform like Flippa.com, which allows you to take a product that you've generated, and this is what a lot of software engineers use to make a bunch of money. And you can go in here and you can essentially take your products and sell them to other people that don't know how to make a product and want to buy a product that already works. And depending on the specs of your product, depends on how much you can charge for it. So obviously, you see these ones that are like $825,000 being sold. Obviously that means they got like a gigantic user list, large revenue. Like this one right here is selling for 825. You see that it's 275K in revenue. But instead, you can look at these, the more realistic of what you're going to sell yours for, right? Which is like, okay, how much profits is making $96 a month? Okay, let's sell it for $700. It has 16 bids of people that want to buy bathroom zeal, right? From somebody in Tennessee, United States, right? That makes $97 a month, right? Whosquery.com makes $47 a month, selling it for $370, 14 bids. And those are all really cheap. And of course, you're going to find ones that like, have different valuations and stuff like that. Like this one selling for 1350, 1799. I just went to the under 2000. But you also can sell stuff like your YouTube channel. You can sell like, a bunch of stuff here. And depending on what you're selling, depends on, you know, what you think you should sell it for. Obviously, if it's only making $33 a month and stuff like that, you're not gonna be able to sell it for too much. Like you see, this one is 1350 asking price. I don't see any bids because it's only making $33 a month. I don't know what they think they're gonna get for that when there's $90 a month right below for 550. So But you can take your apps and you can sell it on here. And there's people buying these small apps on here all the time for a lot of often. And they have their own business model on why they want to buy a bunch of tiny apps. It's not really your problem, but this is another thing that you could do. You could build an application that actually has a little bit of traction, right? And actually make some money. You can go ahead and offload it relatively quickly. And it doesn't have to be below 2,500. I'm just showing you that you can sell it for as cheap as that. So you pretty much can sell anything. So you can sell something that's making thousands of dollars. You can sell something that's making hundreds of dollars, and everything in between. All right. This selling for 10 million, this selling for 5 million, this selling for 825,000. And they do everything via escrow, so you can make sure that you actually get your money, right? Because the money gets sent to escrow before you release all the information you need to be able to transfer the stuff to them. Transfer it to them, get your money, call it a day, and move on. How do I know? Because obviously I've used this platform before. So those are two options that you could have outside of just the regular options of, you know, use the app, put the app out there, etc. This app is making 7,315 per month, and it's selling for $290,000. All right, cool. Um, so any questions before we close out? Hopefully there's some questions. I hope there are questions. Love this. Thank you. I was able to complete first draft of my app for my product. Yes, that's what I like to hear. Mission accomplished. Cool. Any other questions, comments, concerns, things you want to know about? Nope, nope. Cool. I see some emojis. Thank you. Cool. All right, awesome. Well, if there are no questions, I will let you all go. But I'll leave the room open till everybody leaves just for a little bit. But hopefully you were able to take to utilize some of that info. I'll share some stuff in DBC tomorrow morning before I go to church, and you can grab that info. So just look for it inside the DBC main chat. Just look for a post from me, and I'll have like a little wrap up of some of the prompts and stuff that we use and some of the links. But that is what you can do here. And like I said, it looks as easy as it sounds. Once you get using ChatGPT, PRDKit, and Lovable down, you do it a few times, you get it down to a science. It's real easy. And there's a bunch of things you could do. You can make stuff for people, make your own products, make your own websites, make your own applications for mobile and for desktop. You can sell the stuff after the fact on places like Flippa. You can get feedback on how good the product is on places like Product Hunt. And there's a big ecosystem of people that love to try new stuff. So all you have to do is put it in front of them. So it's out there. I say, how do you recommend somebody practice this still to get stronger at it? The way I recommend you practice is by doing it over and over again. So because the flow is simple, you just got to get used to it, right? You got to get used to prompting ChatGPT properly to get something good, right? Once you use ChatGPT to get that initial information, you need to get the PRD kit. Then you go ahead and give that to PRD kit, and then you get used to the stuff that PRD kit's going to ask you because you use it enough. And then you get those questions answered, and then bring that over from PRDKit to Lovable, and then have Lovable make it. And then once you finish, and once you get that initial thing made in Lovable, the reason why I didn't spend a lot of time talking about the next set of prompts, because if you know how to use ChatGPT, once you get the only prompt you have to make special in Lovable is the first one. If you try to make that first prompt like a regular ChatGPT type prompt, you're going to be in Lovable for forever, and it's going to not do what you want it to do. It's going to be really bad. You give it that PRD from the beginning, and it starts from there. After that, it's just like talking to ChatGPT, right? You just like change this for me, change that for me. I don't like this. What do you think about this? You just talk to it after that. Same way you do the ChatGPT, and Lovable is also a very good conversational type API where you can speak to it. The same way you can talk to ChatGPT and basically have a conversation like you're talking to a friend. You could do the same thing in Lovable, at the same level. Like it's good at talking back and forth to you. PRDKit is not. You definitely feel like you're talking to a robot when you talk to PRDKit. So you just want to get your stuff and get out. Trust me. Don't have no long conversation in PRDKit. It ain't worth it. You just want the PRD and the wireframes from there because you can't get good PRD and wireframes from ChatGPT. But you can get it from PRDKit. Let me see. What's the difference between building an app in Lovable instead of Canva? Well, in Canva, you don't really get a real app. That's really what it comes down to. And I love Canva. I use Canva all the time. It's like one of my favorite tools. Like I use it to make all my YouTube thumbnails and all my social media content. I make all of it in Canva. But Canva doesn't make real websites. It doesn't. I mean, it makes. I don't want to say fake, but I mean they're really not real. It doesn't really make a thing that is like on the level of like the Instagram app. In Lovable, you can literally make you can build like I was trying to show you in with the companion app. Like that's a real app that really works. Like you could really go ahead and load in your cancer treatment stuff. You could really load in your my chart data and all the stuff like that, and it'll really work. I wouldn't recommend doing the my chart data stuff now because they're still just demoing it. They don't want people to actually give them their HIPAA information right now. So don't do that if you do have it. But they just can use their own for right now. But they are but you are 100%. Uh, but it's 100% functional real app. Is my point. That really can talk to external APIs, fetch data, do all the things that you need an application to do. Not kind of like you could use Canva to make mockups. And they have made some like advancements on what you could do, and you can like put it on the site and do this, but it never really goes beyond the level of like a Wix site, which also you can't do much with a Wix site either. Wix is, you know, just a little holding place thing you can make, or a link tree. Well, let me not. Wix is a little bit better than Linktree, but it doesn't really go beyond that. But in Lovable, you all the apps that you use on the internet every single day, you can really and truly use them um, the same way. Let's see, or build something that works like them. With Lovable, when launching, do we need to purchase a website? So yeah, so if you want to put it on its own domain, you will need to buy a domain. I could do like a class on like how that works with DNS and all that stuff. If people want that, just make a request in DBC, and if people ask for it, then I don't mind doing it. But literally, what you have to do is you got to go buy a domain from something like GoDaddy or Namecheap or something like that. So you go buy it from one of those two, or anyone that you can think of. But those two are the easiest to use that I know of that have been around for a really, really long time, like 2 decades. And I'm a GoDaddy certified web developer. So that's what I always tell people to use because if you break it or don't do it right, all you have to do is you can go into GoDaddy, and since I have the certification, I'm on the list of like approved vendors. So you can literally just go in and just add me as your GoDaddy Pro, and then I can fix it for you without having to you needing me to log in your thing or something. If somebody breaks it on like some random domain website, then they literally got to give me their username and password and log into it as them, and that's like something I prefer not to do. So I always tell people use GoDaddy if you ever think you might ask me for help, because um, you know, then it's as easy as I just give you a code, you give me access, and then when I'm done, you can just go ahead and turn the access off, and you don't have to call support or anything because I know how everything in GoDaddy works. Um, so that's it. Let me see. Are you still adding to the N8N and agent masterclass build out? Yes, I am. I will be doing that. Um, So next thing we're gonna do, well, I won't go into a thing on that, but yes, the answer is we're nowhere near done on that. There's so many levels of stuff we can go through. I'm just gonna instead of doing these, I'm doing these parallel to each other. That's what I ended up coming out to. Like I asked Brooklyn about it, and she was like, "Yeah, do whatever you want. I trust you." Basically, what she said. So I'm like, I'll just do these parallel to each other rather than only because I originally was just gonna keep doing the automation, finish the automation, and do the vibe coding. But I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just do them, parallel to each other? So I'm doing both at the same time, so people can get each one. So yeah, we're still working on that. And we're gonna do some more automations in next class. But we have done the core. Like we're as far as if you've gone through all the lessons that we've done so far, you should be able to get into N8N and use it. It's just a matter of there's so many buttons in N8N. It's like, what can you do? Like you could do everything. So it's like information overload. So what I plan on doing in the next lessons is like, maybe review a little bit about this how N8N works, but really get into let's actually, make some stuff from scratch. Let's like see what happens if we take a existing one and make changes to it. How can we deploy it? How can we do this, do that? How can we make it talk to an external application and just kind of play around with it and have people be able to ask questions? So, yep, we are still doing that. Let me see. On a previous call, you gave us access to your website. Where could we access any of them workflows? Can you share that link again, please? Ooh, okay. I will share it. Mm, this is the last time I'll share it though, because I don't know if you remember I said before, but I'm gonna have to turn on the thing where it's gonna let you be able to create an account. So I'm gonna turn it back on. Actually, DM me because I remember seeing your name in the class. So that's the only reason why I'll do it. But I'm not gonna make it like that. Anybody in here right now can get into it because that was specifically for people that are on the call that day, right? Oh wait, did I miss your question? Can you just skip making a prompt for PRD and make a prompt straight for Lovable? Now, here's the thing. Yes, and people do that, but I promise you the PRD route is better. Because if you tell ChatGPT to make you a prompt for Lovable, right, and tell it that it needs to be a PRD, it doesn't know everything that it doesn't have the same knowledge base that PRDKit has. So you really run the risk of like it not being very good. But if you get PRDKit to make it, I promise that's the best way to go. Is get PRDKit to make you the PRD and then put that in Lovable. Take you like extra 10, 15 minutes, but save you so much time on the end. And I've used Lovable a lot and I've been programming for like 20 years, 22 years now. I'm getting old. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so like I promise you it's better to do it that way because you want a professional, detailed PRD that has in mind like what pieces actually need to be made to make a MVP and how the flow is supposed to work together. So that's my recommendation to you. Like um I definitely feel like I gave you the minimum amount of steps. Like I don't think there's anything you can skip from that. Like there's other things that I actually do that I didn't go over now because I'm like, you don't need to do those things. Like there's stuff that I do, like when it comes to you know, that I won't get into right now because I don't want to information overload you. Extra steps that I take when I'm making stuff for myself. But the three things I gave you are like the minimum things you can do to get good output. Let's see, I created an account already. I just don't have the site. Okay, cool. Then just go to should be trying to remember which one's the sales site, which one is the site to buy, and which one is the site to log in. Is it AI plug library to log in, or is it? That's got to be the go high level. Sometimes go high level takes forever to open. Yeah, yeah. So this is the sales site, and yeah, sometimes go high level does that and it takes forever to spin. See, the one I made opens immediately because I'm so great at this coding. Anyway, but it's the AIPlugLibrary.com is the website. So if you have a login already, you just need to go there. So if you already have your login, you just go to that site. So the AI plug library is where you log in to actually get in the AI plug library. And if you already are in the plug library and you want to keep doing vibe coding, you can look at the vibe coding playbook that I have in there that is longer. Um, and then I have the vibe coding courses in there too that has the details of all the stuff in more detail than we went over today, um, with how all the pieces work and how you put them together in order to make sure you can make something really good. So feel free to go through that. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and try to make this vegetarian creamy something. Um, and I can, and I'm not very good at cooking. I just can follow recipes. So I'm gonna try to follow this recipe, and we'll see what happens if I'm able to make this thing and it's edible. But have you sound excited about that. I am excited actually. I just am scared. I'm scared I'm gonna make it and not be able to eat it. We'll see. If it ends up, if you see, if if anybody's following me on social media, if you see it end up inside my stories, it means it came out good. If it's not in my stories, that means it was trash, and I didn't want to put it in the story. So we'll see. We'll see if it makes the stories or not. It's consider it as another code. Exactly. That's what I do when I look at the recipe. I'm like, hey, you said put this many pieces of freaking tomato. That's what I'm gonna do. You said to mix it like this. The thing that be messing me up was when they be like dash and pinch. Like, what the heck is dash and pinch? Right? I don't know what that means. I just, figure it out. Hopefully, I don't put too much. Cool. What's your Instagram? My Instagram is Big Papa Code. BigPoppacode. Right? So if you're not following me, feel free to follow me. And if you're in DBC, send me a message and I'll follow you back and we can stay better connected and all that stuff. All right, cool. All right, well, I'll let y'all go. We will pick this back up. I feel like this, since we didn't get into deployment, I feel like this deserves another run. These introductory things on vibe coding before we can go crazy with vibe coding. So I'll do like a second part of the intro class. I just don't know what day we'll do it yet because Thanksgiving's coming up, so it ain't gonna be during that time because I'm gonna be eating. But after Thanksgiving, we can go ahead and pick up from there. But if you have questions in the meantime, one-off questions, just shoot me a line and I will definitely get back to you and answer them. All right. Have a good night.